the UAR Resolution of Due Diligence form. Okay, this form replaced the Repairs Addendum, and it's been in existence for a couple of years now. Really, this is a way for the buyer and the seller to negotiate any sort of issues the buyer discovers during their due diligence. Now, certainly, buyers and sellers don't have to use this form. They could certainly use a closing cost addendum or simply a blank addendum to reduce the purchase price. But this form allows the buyer and the seller to negotiate any of those items when it comes to closing costs, price reduction, or, and I would emphasize as kind of the last prong, any repairs the buyer wants the seller to do. Now, I emphasize that because there is an element of subjectivity when it comes to repairs. Here, it allows the buyer to negotiate certain repairs that the seller is going to complete. It also has buyer remedies in the event the seller does not complete the repairs by the settlement deadline. And what is also interesting about this form is that once the buyer and the seller agree to this form, so either the purchase price reduction, closing costs, or repairs, it does allow, by default, the buyer to then waive due diligence. Now, the premise behind that is so that buyer and seller can resolve any issues and then move forward. If the buyer wants to preserve the due diligence condition, they need to affirmatively check in Section 4A that they're preserving that right. Therefore, they would then be allowed to cancel within the due diligence deadline. But it's a pretty straightforward form, but there's certainly other ways to negotiate any sort of due diligence items that the buyer discovers.